Ferrari have had a tough season this year, but that's nothing new. For a number of seasons now, Ferrari have shown promise and then completely failed to deliver on it. In 2022, they were title contenders before failed upgrades let Max Verstappen pull away from Charles Leclerc. In 2024, they developed themselves into a place where they were competing with McLaren for race wins and the Constructors' Championship, then had a terrible winter and are now going to go winless all season while fighting Max Verstappen for third in the Constructors' Championship. One man who's seen it all with the Scudderia is Charles Leclerc. Despite being the Ferrari career man and the team's golden boy, there's only so long that Leclerc can ride the team's pain train. Today, I'll cover the Monegasques' latest outburst, why Singapore was so embarrassing for the team, and how long Leclerc could remain with them. So don't go anywhere. It was another weekend of disappointment for Ferrari, as Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton both struggled to make any impact on the podium positions at the Marina Bay circuit. Qualifying on Saturday was poor from the team, with their fastest driver Lewis Hamilton being half a second slower than pole sitter George Russell, only going quick enough for 6th place on the grid. Then, in the race, neither driver managed to impress, with yet more car problems holding both of them back. Leclerc eventually finished as the first of the Ferraris, crossing the line in 6th place, while Hamilton followed through in 7th, but his complete lack of brakes over the last few laps meant he had to cut almost every corner on the track, earning himself an incredibly lenient 5-second penalty post-race, which relegated him down to 8th. Despite having the most successful driver in the sport's history and one of F1's most promising talents, Ferrari's car once again failed to back up the talent they have in the garage. It isn't an unfamiliar story. The list of the last 2 decades of Ferrari drivers who've been let down by the team is pretty impressive. Alonso, Massa, Raikkonen on his second stint at the team, Vettel, Leclerc, Sainz, and now Hamilton. Ferrari have consistently employed the best driving talent the sport has to offer and then let them down with the hardware they provide. In Singapore, after Sunday's Grand Prix, Charles Leclerc snapped. He said that he and Lewis Hamilton were passengers of Ferrari's failing Formula One car as they can't outperform it to get back to the podium positions. From lap 8, basically, it was all about managing those brakes, Leclerc said after finishing 6th in Singapore, while Hamilton took 8th place. I think everybody has to manage to a certain extent on a track like this, but I think we were the worst side of things, and that makes it extremely difficult. Our whole race was very tricky. At one point on the team radio, Leclerc was heard saying, "Don't even complain, for fuck's sake. We are doing 200 meters of LIGO all the time." He was venting at his engineer who was asking him to lift and coast more, saying that he was already doing 200 meters of it at the end of straights every lap. You don't have to have much knowledge of racing to know that 200 meters of not braking or accelerating on every straight probably isn't conducive to being competitive. Leclerc explained his frustrations with the car to the media, complaining about the team's inability to make any progress mid-season. "Unfortunately, we don't have the race car to fight with the guys in front. McLaren has always had the same gap on us compared to the beginning of the year. Red Bull did a step from Monza and had the same level of McLaren. Mercedes now is at the same level of McLaren and Red Bull, and then there's us. It's not easy, obviously, because you want to fight for better positions. But at the moment, it just feels like we're kind of passengers to the car and we cannot extract much more." Being a passenger at Ferrari is a feeling Leclerc is all too familiar with. He is undoubtedly one of the best drivers on the grid. Having outperformed Sebastian Vettel at times, Carlos Sainz and now Lewis Hamilton, he clearly has the pace to compete for a world championship. His qualifying abilities are unmatched when he has a car to back them up as well. But so often, his title hopes have been held back by his team. Despite having worked on this car since 2022, Leclerc said it was in the worst state it had been under these regulations, describing it as understeery, yet still very snappy and unpredictable. It's a difficult pill to swallow for the 27-time pole sitter and 8-time Grand Prix winner, who's not experienced such a lack of performance since the 2021 season. What makes it harder is how Ferrari missed out to McLaren by 14 points for the 2024 Constructors' title. Obviously, coming from a year like last year, where you're fighting for the World Constructors' Championship, and then you come here with high expectations, you come low of your expectations from the beginning, and you don't even see a progression throughout the year. It's not easy, Leclerc admitted, though he reiterated his unwavering drive to overcome this hardship. Of course, the Ferrari car has been slow all season, so what was it about the Singapore Grand Prix which was so painful for Leclerc? Well, before I talk about that, if you're enjoying the video and want to catch all the news and analysis on F1, then make sure to give this video a like and subscribe to F1 Reverse. Thanks a lot. Ferrari just went through their 5th consecutive Formula One weekend without achieving a podium at the Singapore Grand Prix. Since the summer break, they've looked lost compared to their competitors. Finishing 2nd in the Constructors' Championship now feels very unlikely. Losing 3rd to Max Verstappen seems very likely, and there's cause for concern heading into 2026 as well, with new regulations for both drivers. Team boss Fred Vasseur blamed their bad performance at the Marina Bay circuit on their poor execution on Saturday. That is fair enough. Qualifying 6th and 7th is never going to make the race easy. While qualifying didn't help them though, a general lack of pace with the SF25s feels like the more important point to focus on. The big issue is those terrible Ferrari brakes. There was Leclerc's radio message about lifting and coasting, but the real show of just how bad the Ferrari brakes are was Lewis Hamilton. Lewis Hamilton's final laps in Singapore weren't so much a cool-down as a countdown. With 3 tours to go, his Ferrari SF25 shed its brakes, and the 7-time champion was left nursing a wounded car around Marina Bay while Fernando Alonso reeled him in. With his left foot flat to the floor, Hamilton was completely unable to stop his Ferrari, having to instead rely on engine braking. It was an incredibly dangerous situation and probably should have resulted in a meatball flag, meaning his car was unsafe to drive and he had to come into the pits to get it fixed, essentially ending his race. It isn't a new problem for the Ferrari drivers. They have constantly had to lift and coast this season to preserve their brakes for the race. It is such a massive time killer for the team. The drivers can't go on the attack against other drivers ahead of them in fear of destroying their brakes. They can't push to try and pull off an undercut or overcut to make places up through strategy. They are constantly having to hold themselves back, and for an F1 driver, that is just infuriating. While Leclerc may have committed to Ferrari for next season, his commitment beyond that is in serious question. There is increasing doubt about whether Ferrari will produce a fast enough package to convince the Monegasques to stay at the team beyond 2026. While Leclerc might be Ferrari through and through, the 27-year-old would rather win a championship elsewhere than never win one at all. Charles Leclerc's manager, Nicolas Todt, told the Straits Times about how the F1 grid could evolve in 2026. A lot of drivers are waiting to see how well each team will have worked and how good their car will be. To say, I want to stay in my team or I want to go to another team because they're doing a better job. Charles is one of the best talents of his generation, with Max and a few of the drivers. He's not a baby anymore because he has done a lot of seasons with Ferrari. And of course, I think that we still need to have a winning car. Today, we have a good car, but not enough to win the title. We hope it will happen, and we hope next year Ferrari will have a very good car with the new regulations. Charles and his team aren't stupid. They know they might need to move away, and they'll be making themselves known to the other teams on the grid. He'll be far from the only driver doing that. Everyone is waiting to see what happens with the competitive order next season. They want to see who has the new regulations figured out, and then in 2026, we could see the drivers' market go crazy as some of the long-term servants like Leclerc start to jump ship. Were you frustrated by Ferrari's performance in Singapore? Do you think next season will be Leclerc's last in Ferrari red? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below, and until next time, drive safe and bye for now.